Hello there, this is Jennifer McCreath. I'm pre-recording this on May 2nd, 2010 specifically for a high school presentation later this month in my lovely hometown of Halifax, Nova Scotia. Thank you very much, Halifax, for letting me into your school today to talk. I think it's a great idea to have the education system take an interest in lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender issues. I'm specifically here to talk about, I guess, homophobia in sport. Specifically, I'll tell my story, which refers to transphobia. Just to clarify, transsexualism deals with an individual who is in the process of undergoing a transition from one sex to another. This specifically involves everything from a legal name change, changing your wardrobe, to taking hormones, and having surgical procedures to alter your body. I am about 3 years into the transition process. From a gender perspective, I've identified as a woman for a long time. My goal is to become completely biologically and legally recognized as a female. And throughout this process, I have continued my love of athletics, specifically marathon running. And I guess the first story I'll tell is it's been the challenges in the athletic world to gain acceptance as a transsexual person and as a woman. Athletic world loves to put us all of us athletes in boxes. There's one box called male, there's one box called female. If you don't fit neatly into one of those boxes, they really don't like you, they don't necessarily want you there, they don't welcome you. In some cases they'll twist and bend the rules to accommodate a few of us, but ultimately they see us as a problem. They create fictitious terms and they even invent medical conditions and they refer to it as disorder. Well, diversity does not equal disorder. When I first started going through the change, I literally decided it was an indignity. I no longer wanted to run under the male label. I approached race directors, said, "Hi, my name's Jennifer, I'm a woman, I'm transitioning, I'd love to run your race." And immediately the first thing they said is, "You're going to have a competitive advantage if you run as a female." And I said, "Okay, fair enough. Well, what can we do? I don't want to run as a male because I feel that's inappropriate." So some races said, "Sure, run as a woman." I said, "Look, I'm not going to win your race. I'm a pretty slow runner." And when you tell them that, they're comfortable with it, and it shouldn't have to be that way. I guess backing up further, I took an interest in a entity known as the World Out Games, a Olympic-style event that catered to the gay lesbian community. And they had this mission statement on their website about being inclusive and accepting, yet they didn't have much in there for trans athletes. So I called them and said, "Look, if you really want to be open and inclusive, you need to find a category for me and others like me that will not cause us to be mislabeled or misclassified." And they agreed. They created a third category. And initially my thought was it will just be a participation category. I don't have to win. I don't have to beat anybody. This isn't about beating others. This is just about me publicly standing up and being proud of who I am. In the end, I was the only transsexual to run the marathon, and by virtue of finishing it, they decided to award me this lovely gold medal, which is obviously nice to have. The very next day I got into the swimming pool and did exactly the same thing. And I guess what makes that very interesting is this wasn't just the World Out Games swim meet, it was the International Gay Lesbian Aquatics swim meet. They did not create a transsexual category, but they classified me as a female. So I have a World Out Games gold medal swimming, and I have a silver medal, interestingly enough, from the IGLA folks. That's very unique. From a positive perspective, it was great. It was a step in the right direction, but unfortunately they weren't very open and proud about it. They were tolerant but not embracing. They kind of went out of their way to sweep me under the rug. They had award ceremonies where they handed out medals to most athletes, but for the trans athletes, they did not have the ceremony. They kind of slipped us the medal on the side. So there was not a lot of discussion about the trans athletes that were there. And to me, that's sad. It's unfortunate because in the end, I really did not feel welcome. I didn't want to go there just to take home medals. I'm there to spread the story. There's a lot of misconceptions about trans people, and I'm there to kind of set the record straight and let people know we're not stupid, we're not mentally ill. We're normal people that are just going through a transition. Otherwise, we do pretty much the same things that everybody else does, and we're just as week I went to my marathon world, and obviously the granddaddy of them all is the Boston Marathon. And I approached these folks and asked them, say, look, I'd love to run a race, and I'd love to do so in the female category. And I had qualified as a male. Actually, I just missed the male qualification. So I called to basically say, can you let me in? I'd love to be there. And they said yes. So I've got my Boston Marathon medals. They're kind of neat to have. 2009 Boston Marathon was the very first marathon I actually ran under the female classification. And amazingly enough, I came back next year and ran it again. Other race directors weren't so accommodating. They say, no, we don't consider you a female. We still think that you have an advantage, and we do not want you here. And it's frustrating to hear that. Because ultimately, there really is no advantage. Hi. Taping an interview here. The joys of being out in the park. But realistically, the transition process is physically demanding. You take away the testosterone and you add estrogen. Basically, you're adding fat cells to the body. You're taking away muscle. So strength, speed, endurance, it all goes downhill. I went from running a 3-hour and 16-minute marathon one year to being over 4 hours the next year. Interestingly enough, my fastest marathon as a female was not my first marathon. It was actually my 5th marathon as a female. A very special one. It is, in fact, the 2009 Halifax Blue Nose Marathon, which I ran in 4 hours and 8 minutes, I believe. A far cry from the 3:16 I ran less than a year prior. So I'm a lot slower. In theory, if I were to have an equal advantage, I would be running a 3:45, because that's what it takes for females at my age to qualify for Boston. Here I was making the male cutoff, and 2 years later, I ran Boston in over 5 hours. I'm nowhere near as competitive in any category now. Ultimately, again, it's not about winning, it's just about being inclusive in sport. We want to be accepted, us trans people, for being human beings, ultimately. I hate it when people feel they have to label me and put me in boxes. I know everyone likes to box things and label things, but I guess backing up even further, the concept of homophobia, people are so fascinated with my trans story, they forget to ask what my sexual orientation is. And this is a misconception that all trans people are heterosexual. In fact, 70% of trans people are not. For example, I identify as a lesbian. I'm a woman who likes women. It really has nothing to do with athletics, and I don't think it's something that's talked about. But hey, I'm no stranger to the athletic world. Right here in Newfoundland, there's a running community, a very big community. We have a lot of running events throughout the summer, 5K races, 10K races. I probably know at least 300 to 400 people that run on a regular basis. Guess what, folks? Not one who publicly identifies as gay or lesbian or bisexual. Are there gay, lesbian, bisexual runners out here? Perhaps. If they are, though, they're keeping it quiet and closeted. They obviously don't feel they will be accepted and welcomed. I think about the race community, and again, I go back to the word tolerant, but I wouldn't say I'm embraced. Not very often do I get invited to, hey Jennifer, why don't you come run with us? Why do you come hang out with us? You just don't hear that or see that very often. And that's a shame. We shouldn't have to do that. We should be able to be open and proud of who we are and not have to hide anything. I think the planet itself has come a long way in accepting gay, lesbian issues. It's now illegal to discriminate against us. But sadly, in the athletic world, I think there's still a few steps behind that. And it's going to take somebody to push the button and push the envelope for change to happen. And that's why I'm here. That's why I'm standing up. Perhaps I pay the price in some ways, but I feel I'm doing my best to spread the good news about who I am and what I'm doing and what others like me are doing. We just want to be treated as human beings. So thank you very much for watching, and I'd be happy to take your questions over the phone in a few minutes. Thank you very much, and goodbye.